In this video, we are going to calculate simple stat using calculator. So, I will be teaching you how to input data in our calculator and then do simple statistics using our calculator. So, I have here a problem. I have here the data from an experiment. Okay, so we have the following results were obtained in the replicate determination of the lead content of a blood sample. 5 0.752, 0.756, 0.752, 0.751, and 0.760 ppm lead. Now we are going to calculate the following. So we have the mean, which has this formula, and then the variance, which has a formula of standard deviation square, or we have this one, the summation of our x, our sample minus the mean, then we square that one, and over n minus 1, n is your number of samples. Then we also have the standard deviation, which is a square root of our variance. Then we have our coefficient of variation, CV, which is standard deviation over our mean times 100%. Then we have our spread, which is highest value minus lowest value, relative standard deviation or RSD, which is uh, which is just a ratio of our standard deviation and our mean times 1,000 ppt. Okay, we also have our standard deviation of the mean, or S, over square root of n. So in this problem, we are given with this. We are given with 5 replicates. When we say replicates, it's in the same it has been done in the same condition, same volume, same size of your sample, and then you just repeat the experiment 5 times. Okay, here in this case it's 5 times, so we have 5 samples. 5, it's in test tube, either it's in test tube A, B, C, or D, or E. Okay, and then this time, because our chemist, because we know already that during experiment there will be errors that will occur, there will be many factors that will occur that will lessen the reliability and the accuracy of our experiment. Therefore, we are going to use these simple statistics in order for us to really get the true or the most accurate value of our lead content. Okay, so we have here, we are going to calculate first our mean. Now to do that, again, because this video is more about on calculating using our calculator, so we will not solve it manually using this formula, but please take note of the formula, because it's also important that you know how to do it manually. So the first thing to do is we will get our calculator. So I have here my calculator is Casio, which is FX95MS. Okay, so there are calculators which are more modern than mine, but with this simple statistics, then or this calculator can do the task. Okay. But if you have the modern one, then that's good for you. Okay. All right. Now, first thing is to turn on our calculator. Now that's it. Now, when you turn on your calculator, make sure that you will clear. You will clean your calculator so that all the previous data being inputted in this calculator will be cleared. So how do we do that? So we will click shift and then the mode. Okay, after that we will click number 3 because the we will clear all. So let's click 3 and then we click equals, reset all. Okay, now we are sure that there's no previous data here in our calculator. Now to do that, let's set our calculator first in a standard deviation mode. So again, to do that, we will shift and then mode. Oh, sorry. We will mode directly. And then we have here, okay, again, when we set our calculator, we will just click mode and then we have our SD. We will choose SD and that's number 2. So we will click 2. Okay, that's it. So our calculator is now set to a standard deviation mode. Now this time, we are going to input data, our 5 replicates. So the first data is 0.752. Now after that one, we will click empty. We will click empty if after we input our first data empty. Alright, so it means that your n is now equal to 1. That you have one data, it means you have one data. And then we will directly enter the second data, which is 0.756. So we have 0.756. Then we will again enter, we will click empty. And then the third one is 0.752 empty. And then 0.751 empty. And then 0.760 empty. Okay, so that's it. You have 5 data. You have 5 samples. Now after that one, we can press AC. Anyways, the data you input here were already in the mind of our calculator. So we have, because we are going to find the mean, so we will click shift and then S var. Here the S var is in number 2 in your calculator. You can see that one, S var. Okay, we click that one. Alright, after clicking S var, we have this one, our X bar. The X bar here is your mean, and then the X, this one in number 2, that is your population standard deviation, and the number 3 is your sample standard deviation. But since we are looking for mean, so we will click 1. We will click number 1, enter. Now after that one, we will press equals. So the value is we have 0.7542. So we are to follow significant figures. we will follow three significant figures. So we have 0.754. Okay, now let's write that here for our mean, which is 0.754. I hope you can see clearly. Pardon because it's already night. And then I turn off the light, my table light, because it will create a bigger shadow. Okay, so after that one, now we will press AC. Okay, so after that one, we are asked of our standard of our variance, but I prefer to get our standard deviation first since it's in our calculator. So after that one, now to get our standard deviation, we will shift and then as var, and then standard deviation is in number 3. Sample standard deviation, so we will click 3 and then we will click equals. So that's it. That is our standard deviation, which is equal to 3.768 times 10 to the negative 3. Okay, to follow significant figures, let's have 3 significant figures. Our standard deviation is 3.77 times 10 to the negative 3. Now, our standard deviation is just a square, our variance rather is just a square of our standard deviation. So since we have here in our calculator the value of our standard deviation, we will square this one to get the our variance, because our variance is just a square of our standard deviation. So we will just square. Okay, we will click this one, square, and then equals. Okay, so that's it. We have 1.42 times 10 to the negative 5. Okay, so we have our variance is 1.42 times 10 to the negative 5. Now it's not advisable to just to use this number in our standard deviation and then we directly square, uh, because this number has been rounded up already, and that will lead to an error in our analytical results when we do our experiment. So it's good that y- we will use or we will square the number that our standard deviation that has been given by our calculator, because it will give us more accurate, because the number was not being rounded up or rounded down. Okay, now so after that one, we are going to calculate our coefficient of variation. So our coefficient of variation is just standard deviation over the mean. Again, we already get the value of our standard deviation and our mean. Now, to be to because we are in a laboratory, become we will be always extra careful, especially on our calculations. So we will not use this one again because they are already rounded up and rounded down. So there are the there are numbers which are uncertain here. So again, we will use our calculator because our CV is standard deviation over our mean times 100. So let's use the calculator. Okay, let's press AC. All right. And then because we're going, let's go to standard deviation. So click shift and then S var, which is in number 2. And then we have 3, number 3, because it's standard deviation. Okay, so that's the value. And then we divide that one to get our CV. Divide that one, then we will use uh, open parenthesis, and then we will use again the value of our mean. Now again, to do that one, we will click shift S var and then 1 because it's our mean. Okay, so you, as you can see, notice that one ans divided by x bar. Then we will close that one with a parenthesis. Okay, and then we will click equals. Okay, so that's it. Our value for our CV is 4.996 times 10 to the negative 3. Now we're going to multiply that one with 100%. We'll just follow the formula. So times 100, that is equal to, okay, that is equal to 0.4996, or we can round up this one. So class, when you round up, always do that at the end na, at the end. Never do that in the beginning or in the middle. Okay, so we will write the CV, which is 0.499, so we can write that one into 0 0.5 percent. Okay, because a CV is in percent. And then again, so for, we are also asked of spread. Okay, the spread. All right, so spread is just highest value minus our lowest value. So as we are going, so let's go back to our samples. We have our highest value is this one, 0.760 ppm, and then our lowest value is this one, 0.751. So let's do that in our calculator. We press AC, and then we have 0.760 minus 0.751, which is our lowest value. So that is 9 times 10 to the negative 3. 9 times 10 to the negative 3, or 0.009. Okay. 2, that is to follow our significant figure. So 0.09 ppm, or ppm of PB. ppm P PB, or lead. Okay, so after that one, we are going to find relative standard deviation. So notice class, notice that I only input my data once, which is on at the beginning of calculating the mean, the variance, the standard deviation. So because our calculator has stored its memory, has stored your data in its memory already. Now, no, that's also the importance of clearing your calculator, cleaning your calculator's memory before we start calculating. Because unless we clear and clean our calculator, it will store the the numbers being inputted in your calculator. So that's it. It's important to always, before you start, you will clean your calculator. So we have here, we are asked of relative standard deviation. Now, our relative standard deviation, we have a formula here, which is just a ratio of our standard deviation and then our mean. Okay, so it looks like our CV, our coefficient of variance. The only difference is that the CV is multiplied by 100%, while our RSD is multiplied by 1,000 because it's in PPT. So again, we will do that one by inputting it in our calculator. We have AC, then we will get our standard deviation first. So again, shift S var, then we have number 3, okay, equals, and then we will divide that one, then we will open parenthesis, then shift var, then 1 for our mean. Okay, click 1. Okay, so that's it. We have the mean here. Then we will close parenthesis and then equals. Okay, so that's it. Okay, that's the ratio. Now our RSD is, we are going to multiply by 1,000. So we will multiply times 1,000. Okay, so that is our relative standard deviation, and it is 5.4.996. So round it up, we will have 5.0 5.00 ppt parts per thousand. Okay, then for our standard deviation of the mean, again, it's just a ratio of our standard deviation and the square root of our n. Now, n here is your number of replicates, so we will have that one. Shift S var, okay, which is 3 because it's standard deviation, equals, and then we divide that one with our square root of our samples. So we have 5 samples. We will write 5. Okay, close, and then equals. Right. So that's it. Our our standard deviation of the mean is 1.68 1.68 times 10 to the negative 3. So that's it. It means that it means that our samples, the 5 samples were deviated 1.68 times 10 to the negative 3 from the mean. So it's kind of very little, very gamay. So with that, if we have a very small standard deviation, either from the mean or standard deviation, sample standard deviation, if it's negative and if it's raised in negative and it's very small, it means that your data, that the that your replicates, the sample you got from your replicates are precise, that they are precise. So the deviation or is not very large. When we say deviation, it is how far deviate. How far does it deviate from your mean? Okay. So that's it. It's this is how you are going to calculate your mean, standard deviation, variance using your calculator. So please don't forget this one because it's very common in calculating results and data in your laboratory. So in the next video, I will teach you how to calculate the slope of a line using our linear regression using this one our calculator. So in the exam, I will not ask you to solve the mean, median, the mean, the mode, or any of the statistics, any of the simple statistics manually. So instead, I will give you a chance to do it easily by using your calculator. That's all. Thank you so much.